Hello, everyone, and welcome to this bonus workshop focused on how to engage members in virtual meetings. And my name is John, and this is Christine, and I am the Chief of Staff for Virginia PBL. And Christine, would you want to quickly introduce yourself as well?
Yes, I am the co-director of programming and chapter development for PBL.
Amazing. Okay, and so I'll pass it over to Christine for a quick little overview of what we're going to be talking about today.
Yes, thanks, John. So today we'll be talking quickly about some icebreakers, some ways that you can feel comfortable with your peers, and some meeting tips for before, during, and after. And then at the end, we'll have a recap so you guys can leave with a couple tips and not forget anything that we said in this presentation.
Incredible. And so as we're going through this presentation, one thing we want to do is sort of model to you all what an engaging virtual meeting looks like. And some of the things we're going to be trying to be modeling is having a conversational meeting, and also having a meeting that isn't just about all business, but also is about that social aspect and sort of community building. And so to start us off with that, we're going to do an icebreaker. And so this one's more focused on sort of introducing folks to each other. And so Christina and I will each go, but to also make it a little bit more engaging, we're going to briefly stop screen sharing. So I think we got school, year, major, Starbucks order. And Christine, would you want to start us off with that?
Yeah, for sure. So again, my name is Christine. I am a third year information systems major at Virginia State University. And my Starbucks order, again, like it changes. So cold brew, iced coffee with almond milk and some sweetener, preferably vanilla or hazelnut. And I'll pass it off to you, John.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's fantastic, Christine. My name is John. I'm also a third year at UVA, and I'm studying public health and economics. And my Starbucks order varies a lot depending on the season because I don't always drink coffee, but sometimes, when things are going really crazy, I will. And so I'd say I'd either go for a vanilla bean frappuccino if I was going without caffeine, or because it is the season, I would go for a pumpkin spice latte. Yeah.
Great.
Yes. Okay. Fun. And so we'll just go back to the slides so we can focus on this. And yeah. And so sort of going off of that, we wanted to give you all a couple more ideas for icebreakers that can be really helpful and useful for a meeting. And so we feel that icebreakers are a really good way to build a sense of community and make the starts of meetings more engaging and fun. And so a couple of ideas include doing highs and lows, or rosebud and thorn. And so both of these sort of are talking about sort of what's been good, like something good that's been happening in your life recently, something bad that's been happening in your life recently. So we find these are really good for sort of allowing you to, sort of commiserate about things like exams and midterms that are going on. And this is actually something that we do at the start of every one of our Virginia PBL state officer meetings. And we find it's really helpful just to be like, oh my gosh, you have that exam coming up? Like, oh gosh, I have some too. So like connections like that. And then a couple other fun icebreakers are virtual train wreck, which is sort of more of a team building exercise that allows you to get to know each other a little better. And that can be a fun one if you have a little bit more time. And there's a little explanation right there. And then finally, something as simple as favorite cereal, favorite Starbucks order can be also a really fun way to get to know each other a little bit better and build a sense of community during a Zoom meeting. Cool. And then I'll pass it over. So sort of our next thing is we're going to be going over a couple of general tips that we thought were really important things for when you're having a meeting. So I'll pass it over to Christine for our first tip.
Thanks, John. So personally, again, about the icebreaker, I definitely love doing that because it was quick for me to get familiar with my co-officers. So on top of that, when you do the icebreaker, or tip number one, it's important to be relaxed and turn your cameras on so people can see your face and we can be more engaging like we are now. And be relaxed because, during these hard times, we all just kind of want, I'm sure everyone can relate, everyone's going through a tough time. We all just kind of want to be able to engage like how we could in person. Unfortunately, since we can't do that and things are virtual, being relaxed is important so that everyone else feels comfortable, you feel comfortable, and the Zoom meeting can go on successfully.
Incredible. And so our next tip, sort of building off of that, is that when you're in an icebreaker, of course, something really helpful is to be able to see everyone else's faces. And so something we've learned is that while screen sharing can be really, really effective for if you have like a visual and you want everyone to focus on it, especially during important announcements or like the business part of a meeting, it can be really beneficial to stop screen sharing and sort of just let everyone see each other while you're sort of at the start of the meeting doing an icebreaker, or sort of when you don't need to have a visual. And so you sort of saw us a little bit earlier in the presentation, we were doing an icebreaker. And so we said, like, we don't want to be staring at like a slide. We want to be staring at each other, and sort of have that human connection. That's our second tip, building off of that.
And our third tip would be combating Zoom fatigue by making yourself comfortable. And a couple ways to do this, because I know that I go through Zoom fatigue very often. A couple ways to do this is to dress and feel so that you will feel nice about yourself, so you feel presentable and you'll want to be more involved with others on a Zoom call. On top of that, you should be in a comfortable space where there are no distractions, you have a clear mind, and you're able to focus on what's in front of you rather than what's around you. And overall, it'll just make you feel more productive, and you will have a more successful meeting with your club or your class or whatever it might be on Zoom.
Yeah, incredible. And as you can see, Christine and I both are dressed up for today, both because we want to be presentable to you all, but also just because it is a little, it's nice to feel good about our outfits and just feel comfortable. Yeah. Fun. And so our final tip before our broad recap is that while you have everyone at a Zoom meeting, so everyone's sort of on their computers, and is able to access the internet, it can be really handy to knock out some small tasks during your meeting. And so those can be things like maybe you're trying to schedule your next meeting, and instead of having to send out some sort of scheduling thing in like an email down the road, it can be really easy to take like a couple minutes during your meeting itself to knock that out. Or if you need everyone to fill out a short survey or make sure their contact information is correct on a Google Doc or something like that. This can all be really good things to knock out during a meeting. And also another really cool thing about that is that sort of having those little breaks almost included in your meeting can also serve as nice little mental breaks from having to focus. So it gives you a second to sort of be like, oh, I have like a minute or so to take care of this task. Like it's more engaging for members because they're actually involved and they're actually doing something. And then in addition to that, we find it's really helpful to follow up about bigger announcements afterwards, generally via email, maybe in a group chat if that's something you can do. And so some of the benefits of that is that since it is pretty easy, to sort of zone out during a Zoom meeting, having that nice little reminder of like, okay, here are the important action items, or here are like important dates I need to put on my calendar. That can be really helpful for making sure everyone has important info that otherwise they might miss. Yeah. Yes. And now I'll pass it over to Christine for a recap.
Yes, tip number 4 is probably my favorite because I need a lot of reminders personally from all the ones that I've been getting with all my classes and work. So here's a recap for all of you. So a couple things that we talked about this presentation are some tips for before the meeting, which are email and group chat reminders, the ones that I need. Announcements and visuals to be prepared and to be comfortable in whatever it is that makes you comfortable, a nice outfit or a clear space, which leads to a clear mind, and things for during the meeting, which is turning your cameras on, being able to see one another, an icebreaker to make people feel more comfortable with speaking to one another, and knocking out small tasks. So to keep others engaged by that, catching them and being like, oh, hey, we need to update this or something like that. After the meeting, again, with a follow-up email, any type of reminder or action items being any documents that need to be filled out or anything that needs to be done post after the meeting. So I can pass it off to John.
Fantastic. So Christine and I wanted to say thank you so much for coming to this bonus session. We hope that you were able to get some concrete takeaways from this and are excited for your next Zoom meeting. We also wanted to say if you have any questions or maybe you have more specific or individualized questions about sort of some meetings you're planning for and you're not really sure what to do for the agenda or sort of like how to structure them, please feel free to contact us via the conference app, or you can also send us an email. Our emails are both here. And yeah, we really appreciate you all coming and are so grateful for this opportunity to share some of the lessons we've learned with you all.
Yes, and here are our social media tags. You can also follow the link tree or click on the link tree where it'll have all of the links to our social media. And that's where you can keep updated on any events that may be coming up or workshops just like this. And I just wanted to thank you all for being a part of this bonus workshop. Please stay tuned. We will be having the 75th PBL anniversary conference on November 13th through 15th. And following that, I just wanted to mention the post-workshop survey that you could fill out regarding this experience.
Thank you so much all once again. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you guys. Bye.